So as a Filipino student, have you ever wondered how the education here in the Philippines has started? So hi everyone, this is Jasper Farinas, and today I'm going to present to you the history of the education here in the Philippines. Starting off with the pre-colonial period, education was informal and unstructured. It is also decentralized. Fathers taught their sons how to look for food and other means of livelihood. Mothers taught their girls to do the household chores. This education basically prepared the children to become good husbands and wives. Children were provided more vocational training but lesser academics. So the teachers that actually taught them these are known as tribal tutors or babaylan or Catalonan in our language. Next is the Spanish era wherein the colonization of the Philippines has happened and some developments of education has existed. So education became formal and organized. It was authoritarian in nature. Tribal tutors of the pre-Spanish period were replaced by Spanish missionaries. So pupils attended formal schooling in the parochial school. So instruction was religion-oriented. Christian doctrines, sacred songs, and music and prayers were taught because they were required for confession and communion. There was a separate school for boys and girls, and wealthy Filipinos or the ilustrados were accommodated in schools. Now next is the Educational Decree of 1863. So this law gave Filipinos a complete system of education from elementary to the collegiate level. The law provided for the establishment of the elementary schools in all municipalities in the country. Although religion was the core of the curriculum included the subjects reading, writing, arithmetic, history, Christian doctrine, Spanish language, vocal music, agriculture for the boys, and needlework for the girls. Attendance in school was compulsory between the age 7 and 12. Now next is the American regime. So after the colonization of the Spaniards has been put into a stop as we declared our independence in 1898, then the American regime has came to make more developments in the education system of the Philippines. So the Americans promoted democratic ideals and democratic way of life, and the schools maintained by the Spaniards for more than 3 centuries were closed but were reopened on August 29th of 1898 by the Secretary Interior. So a system of free and compulsory elementary education was established by the Malolos Constitution. Now also, the University of the Philippines was founded in 1908 in the American regime. UP was the first state school of the university status. Next is that the Department of Public Instruction set up a 3-level school system. The first level considered a 4-year primary and 3-year intermediate or 7-year elementary curriculum. The second level as a 4-year junior college and later a 4-year program. Now next is the Commonwealth period wherein the Philippines has full authority of its sovereignty. Now, on the educational system, free education in public schools was provided all over the country in accordance with the 1935 Constitution. Vocational education and some household activities like sewing, cooking, and farming were also given importance. Education also emphasized nationalism, so the students were taught about the life of the Filipino heroes. Vocational education and some household activities were also given importance. Good manners and discipline were also taught to the students. Next is the institution of private education was established in order to observe private schools, as private schools came to exist even in that time. There's so much acts or laws that has promoted some developments in education, but there is one remarkable act that actually brought so much developments that we can still be seeing up to this day, which is the Education Act of 1940, which was approved by the Philippine Assembly on August 7 of 1940, which provided the following. First is the reduction of the 7-year elementary course to 6 years, fixing the school entrance age at 7, national support for elementary education, compulsory attendance of primary children enrolled in grade 1, and the adoption of double single sessions in the primary grade with one teacher, one class assignment of intermediate teachers. But then, the Japanese has also influenced some developments in our education system. So after the Americans has set standards upon our education system, then the Japanese has actually sought to change some of it. Now, the Japanese occupation has made the people understand the position of the Philippines as a member of the East Asia Co-Prosperity sphere. Next is they eradicated the idea of reliance upon Western states, particularly from the US and the Great Britain. Also, they fostered a new Filipino culture based on the consciousness of the people as Orientals. Also elevated the moral of the people by giving up overemphasis on materialism, diffusion of elementary education and the promotion of vocation education, and they also strive for the diffusion of the Japanese language in the Philippines and the termination of the use of the English in schools, and they also developed the love of labor in the people. Now, on the post-colonial Philippines, so education aimed at the full realization of the democratic ideals and way of life. So also, the civil service eligibility of teachers was made permanent pursuant to RA 1079 in June 15, 1954. Now also, a daily flag ceremony was made compulsory in all schools, including the singing of the national anthem pursuant to RA 1265 approved on June 11 of 1955. Also, curricular offerings in all schools, the life, the works and writings of Jose Rizal, especially the Noli Me Tangere and El Filibusterismo, shall be included in all levels. Also, in the post-colonial Philippines, elementary education was nationalized and matriculation fees were abolished. Magna Carta for teachers was passed into law by the virtue of RA 4670, and the fundamental aims of education in the 1973 Constitution are to foster love of country, teach duties of citizenship, develop moral character, self-discipline, and scientific, technological, and vocational efficiency. So apart from those different eras, there were also other developments that are also very much remarkable. There are so many of them, but we are going to just present some of the very significant and relevant up to this day. So some of those other developments are the integration of values in all learning areas, the emphasis on mastery learning, the existence of YDT or the Youth Development Training and CAT or the Citizens Arm Training as a new course, and media instruction bilingual education policy wherein it mandates the use of English and Filipino separately as a media of instruction in schools. Also, the Education Act of 1982, which created the Ministry of Education, Culture and Sports. And also, NCEE or the National College Entrance Exam was introduced, the trifocalization of education, the presence of CHED to manage or to be responsible about the higher level of education, also the Kindergarten Act, which sought everyone to be educated around a younger age, and the adaptation of K-12 curriculum, which is probably everyone is knowledgeable about. It is amazing that the education system in the Philippines has went through a lot before it became to what it is today. So that ends my presentation for the history of the education in Philippines.